Lovely. So we started recording for anyone who's joining a bit later on, but welcome to this talk. I think it's set to be really interesting. Kai Muller joining us from Norway, but originally from Germany. Lots of experience as a medic and paramedic, and it seems to be doing some really interesting research that I'm looking forward to hearing about. This is the first for this year of our webinars, so hopefully we'll be hosting more, but I'll hand over to you now, Kai, and enjoy the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me, first of all. I've been working, as a lot of us, as a paramedic on an ambulance. Went from an ambulance to a plane, did patient repatriation and medical insurance transports, went into the army, worked as an army medic, went to the desert quite a few times without the army, and then decided that I'm done with war and disaster and I want to do something different, which brought me to Norway, where I then worked for an NGO and went to Gaza, so same thing again. And after that, I decided I don't care what it is, and even if I sell pizza, I'm done with war zones, and started working in the polar regions as a polar guide. And from there, the need came that people needed medics for expeditions. So I became an expedition medic, did polar training on Svalbard, and now I'm jumping around between being a polar guide, being an expedition medic, and something in between. And one of these contracts brought me down to Antarctica, where I was contracted to become a medic for 4.5 months in Antarctica. And of course, you ask before you go, what kind of equipment do you have? What kind of medications do you have? And I got 6 pages from a PDF with the nicest and shiniest equipment you can imagine. So I was very happy and very positive when I went down to Ushuaia to go on the ship and entered the ship and talked to the doctor who was in the clinic on the ship and said, okay, I'm your paramedic. And I was a bit surprised because I couldn't see any of the shiny and nice equipment. We had a lot of vitamin juice and a lot of pills against seasickness, but that was pretty much it. And when I asked where the rest of the equipment was, the answer was, yeah, we have ordered it, but it hasn't arrived yet. And the ship was supposed to leave on the same day. And then the decision was clear that I said, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm definitely not going to Antarctica without equipment. So I turned around and said goodbye to 2,500 euros and went home again, and was, of course, very frustrated because I was very shocked that this is even possible, because these expedition cruise ships make actually quite a bit of money. And the second thing, there is no control instance. And that really kept me busy for a while, and I was wondering how to improve or how to do something about the situation. And when we look at expedition medicine and we go to more and more remote locations, I think we cannot bring more equipment, but we can bring more knowledge. And that was where my connection to telemedicine came from. The idea was we need to make telemedicine better so we get more knowledge and more expertise to make the best out of the limited equipment we have. And by looking at the options, golden standard on the ships was satellite phones, so iridium satellite phones. But then my first question was, how am I supposed to explain an ultrasound on the telephone? And when I looked at this, I thought this cannot be the answer. In modern days, we must be able to do this in a smarter and in a better way. And so the first question was, what can we use which has a worldwide coverage? What is fast enough to share video and large amounts of data? And then the last question is, what does all that cost? And can I fly with it? Because if you create some super complicated and fancy communication device, you're probably gonna have some restrictions on traveling. And that's where Starlink came into the game, because Starlink has a very good network and a very good coverage. It seems like most countries accept Starlink. The only problem was it was really too bulky and really too clumsy to transport around. And I looked for people who know a lot about Starlink, and I found somebody in the UK who is working with the British Antarctic Survey and their Starlink solution, Tim Belfal. And Tim was also ambitious and crazy enough to say, yes, I'm interested to become part of this project. So we started to take out the Leatherman and chop everything off, which you don't need from a Starlink. And there's actually quite a surprisingly large amount of plastic, which you really don't need. So now the Starlink already fits in a Peli case. So it's waterproof, it's shockproof, and you can move it around. It's not too large to bring it into a plane. So the next question was, but if we bring it to a remote location, how do we power it? So we needed a charge controller for solar and wind, which we have now. So we can charge the unit with a solar film, a power film solar panel, and we can have a Shine wind turbine to power it up. The next question was, who knows enough about remote medicine and who knows enough about operating in a really, really remote location, and who is a really good expert for telemedicine. And because I did a lot of training and a lot of courses with Remote Area Risk International, I bumped into a few really nice and really experienced people. Dr. Catherine Genley, who is also in the chat, by the way, or in the audience here, has been in the Antarctic and worked in the Antarctic, so she knows a lot about working in a remote location. So she was one of the person who I bothered with my crazy idea. And then Dr. Hannah Evans, who works as a telemedicine doctor, who had a lot of experience answering these kind of calls and dealing with telemedicine from oil rigs, was also part of the team. And this group of 4 people kind of are the base of this platform. And after a lot of testing in the UK and in Norway, we took the whole stuff and went down to Antarctica. The first big presence, or the first big surprise in Antarctica, was that when you fly to Ushuaia, you come to Argentina, and Argentina has no Starlink. So the first country we were in, and we did our first testing, was a big surprise already. So we were connected to Chile, to the neighboring country. But the good thing was we still had a very good connection, so it still worked. And everything went on the ship. And as you can see, we went quite a bit creative with our tests. So we have even done tests from a small Zodiac. You will see some videos in a second. This is on the open deck from the ship. So not only has Antarctica the lowest density of satellites for Starlink, it also became extra challenging because we were on a moving platform. So we were changing locations by the hour. And of course, you have sometimes quite creative weather in Antarctica as well. Here's a test where we had our patient connected to the patient monitor on the base of a glacier. The orange box is the Starlink, so that's what creates the Wi-Fi. Hannah has the little mobile monitor, which can exchange data by Wi-Fi, and then you can see there's a laptop which brings all this into one website or into one live stream. So here's a short video. Hannah standing, guiding the Starlink from the penguins. Our ship in the background. A little bit more Antarctica for you on the right. You can see there is a cabin or a hut in the middle of the picture. That's actually a refuge hut from the Argentinian research Argentinian Antarctic Research Unit. So this is an emergency shelter only, but you can see it has been taken. And we are quite happy with our Starlink. We managed to send already a few videos even from here, from the beginning of the glacier. So you can see that even from the base of the glacier, you can do quite a solid live stream with pretty stable camera signal. But we pushed it a little bit more. Start 127 and 15. Hi, Kat, here's Kai. I'm streaming live from a Zodiac right now. So I've used this little iceberg here to keep me in position. Starlink is lying right there. And guest operation is somewhere there. So even from a little dinghy, it worked. But of course, we did not only creative nonsense, we also did some medicine. The patient protocol is created with Xchart. That's one of the software components we are using.
Along with some Gen 2 penguins. We are here to display that the Starlink works to send medical data to medics all over the world for advice. This can include ultrasound, as is being shown here. This is a demo ultrasound, so don't expect miraculous things. But to show that we can send big files. This is another one. And a third. I'm trying to line up all three to show you. But I think the first one already played completely, so I think you saw 3 different ultrasounds. Log into Xchart, which is a software that gives us patient information. So you can write whatever you like in there, patient presentation, and it gives you observations which are streamed live also. All right, thank you everybody. Bye-bye. So you can see it's possible to live stream while you have a video conversation and still share ultrasound. And I did on purpose put a few more in there just to show that this is really a data connection which gives you a lot of options. Let's have a look at the software we are using and what the software can do. And maybe we can also talk a little bit about why this has to be a customized version. The patient monitor, the ultrasound, the cameras, all these are not from the same brand. And if you don't want your receiving end to open up 20 different applications, then you need to get everything on one screen. And that starts with simple things, with showing your accident scene, which I can do either with a video or with a photograph. In this case, it's a video. And as you can see, it all shows up on the same screen. Here are some photographs. These photographs are from the preparation time. They are taken in the UK and in Norway before we went to Antarctica. I can show an ECG or a part of an ECG if I want to discuss something. I can put a camera up here and ask questions about something in particular. And this could also be done with an ultrasound, for example. So I can upload an ultrasound, let this run, and then ask questions while I'm streaming. And option one is I do this live, and I talk to my receiving end in a live stream. But all of this is also available on the website. We will have a look at this a little bit later. So if I don't want to have this camera and I want to show something on the patient, for example, to document a wound or something, then I can also have a mobile camera, and I can then move this camera around to document things and walk around in the room to show details. I don't know, the healing process, for example, things like that. The beeping noise you hear in the background is my documentation software, which is complaining that I'm not connecting a patient monitor. So we can open up Xchart from here as well. And you can see I have a history here, which is open. If we go back and we go to patient, then you can see all the fake patients we have created while we were in Antarctica. Obviously, this is not real data. Otherwise, it would not be a good idea to share this in public, I think. And now I can open these things up and again ask questions, ask for advice, mark certain things, maybe write certain things in my protocol. And because it's also existing on the website, it's not necessarily not necessary that I have always a super high-speed data rate. I could upload this when it's possible. I could ask my question, and then it could be a simple email which says, you might want to adjust your medications. You might want to get a second IV access. You could also use this and that. And I think that's a good idea because it makes the whole system a bit more flexible. Talking about being flexible, on purpose, this is a very open system. If you operate an NGO and you fly to an earthquake area to do disaster response, you might want to upload your drone with you. And share the amount. I'm not sure how good the audio is here. You can see that I have recorded parts of this before. What I mean with creative is you could also use the whole Starlink system, for example, for disaster response. So if you're flying to Turkey for an earthquake response and you wanna exchange your drone video to get an estimate about the amount of destruction, that would also be possible. And the same thing is true if you want to change to a different monitoring system. So if you don't have a Eden monitor, it totally doesn't matter. As long as this monitor can share the data via Wi-Fi, you could plug in every other system. And this will even become better because we already got a different company which will help us with ultrasound. We have used Butterfly before, which I found was a bit bumpy. And we have a cooperation now with Clarius, and their systems seem to be a lot easier and a lot better. Oops. And this is the website. At the moment, this is my private website. There's a
part which says restricted, and then you have to enter a password to get access to the website. A lot of people say, yeah, but what about data restriction, and what about patient information and so on? Yes, of course, you would not stream data to a WordPress website, but at the moment it's the opposite. At the moment we want people to see it, and we want to exchange our idea and want to get people on board to push this forward. So at the moment it's totally fine that this is a relatively open system. We also have done a lot of live streaming to YouTube on purpose to make it possible for people to see what we are doing. Here you can see there are scenes. Again, this could be an accident scene. This connects back to Xchart. So here I can also access the same patient information from a website. That was what I tried to describe before. So this is available whenever you want to access it. It doesn't need a connection to the people in the field. Same for the ultrasound. And I think it makes it a little bit easier, because then you are not depending on a live data connection to exchange medical information. In this case, we have connected the position from the ship we were on. But of course, you could also use this, for example, for an inReach, and then show the GPS position of a team. I think you get the idea here. One problem we had, or one challenge we had, was you need a relatively long and stable connection to convince this patient monitor to connect to the Wi-Fi. And we wanted to live stream directly from the monitor. And the scenario we had in mind was, if you need to do some intervention, if you have to do some surgery intervention or something like that, and you want live guidance, you want somebody to be able to see the monitoring in a live stream. And to make this easier, the easiest solution was actually to put a camera in front of it.
Right. What happens when two people who do research on Starlink in Antarctica get a little bit bored and want to do something new, which they haven't done before? Then they get very creative. So we had the problem that you need a relatively long and stable connection to connect the patient monitor into the network. So we were trying to do this in a more easy way and fast way if you don't have the time to wait for that. And as you can see, we are actually live streaming now the patient vitals from the monitor, the same as if you would sit next to it and look at it. And the easiest way to do this was just to install a second camera to really live stream this information. And yeah, hopefully we can be able to send this to you, and then we have that sorted as well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I think that was a very quick and very compressed version of what we did in Antarctica. And I am super happy to answer questions, tell you more about it, but I wanted to give you a quick summary of how this looked in practice, and what we did and where we came from.
Great.